Alright, I couldn't wait another moment. I had to play with Milady. I had to play with wing stance. I had to play with the deflecting physic. I had to play with this stuff. I had to experience it for myself. I was going to do it like on stream. I'm still going to do a playthrough of the DLC and probably the entire game with the deflective physic, as well as the Milady and the wing stance and all that. But I just ran and grabbed it, and I got myself a new helmet as well. This build is level 138. It's got 49 dex, 49 strength. Weapons are quality infused. This is like the third build I ever made. I always will make a quality knight guy at around meta level. I don't spend a lot of time in the arena, so I don't typically make builds that are exactly 125. I have a couple, but most of mine are built for invasions, and so we go up to 138 because invaders have somehow deluded themselves into thinking that they're invading people who are 125. You're not. But that doesn't matter. What does matter is this sick-ass stance, this sick-ass weapon, and, yeah, friendship with straight swords is over. Now, light greatsword is my friend. Look at this thing. So, I'm still getting used to it. Right there on the elevator, I at least knew to press heavy attack instead of light attack. The light attacks don't do a lot of poise damage. The heavy attacks don't really either. But a lot of these attacks will hit people twice. And so they do less poise damage, I assume, because they're hitting twice. But you're still going to have issues trying to interrupt hyper armor with a light greatsword. Somebody told me, I believe it was Alex, who has been around forever. Not a streamer, not a YouTuber to my knowledge or anything, just somebody that knows a bunch of stuff. Does a lot with the collection of data. I was going to say data miner, but that's kind of its own different thing, right? But I believe Alex told me that the light greatswords have like the lowest poise damage next to like daggers or something. Like they're less than thrusting swords, which is, it seems insane, but I don't really care because they look so goddamn sexy. They're so sexy. Look at this guy on the elevator with the quick thinking. Not quick enough though. Anyway, the light attack in this elevator is liable to get me in trouble here because of its narrow swing arc, as well as its poise damage not being very good. And so you have to sort of learn when to press heavy attack versus when to press light attack. And these situations right here on the elevator, these are heavy attack situations. The wing stance is sick. It rules. But you have to like take the stance before you can do the moves. It's not like Stomp where you can sort of like cancel the actual stomp into the move immediately. That's a nice touch for Stomp, but when you do that, you're giving up something. You're giving up the defense and the buff from the Stomp and going directly into the move. The wing stance doesn't have any skip like that. You're gonna do the stance, right? So it's hard to get into that stance in a real quick situation. Speaking of a real quick situation, these three were trying to stream snipe prod, and so I was just absolutely staying in their world all the time. They're using every broken, dumb thing in the game. Maybe by the time this video comes out, this stuff's already been fixed, but tune in to an Ouroboros stream, and you'll see all of these guys' stuff. They learned it from you, Dad. The Zippity Doodah, Ash of War, the perfumes, the Messimers, that whatever, not Messimer, Bale, the Bale thing, the throwing the perfumes at the ground, but then they do the Zippity Doodah directly off the map and die like absolute idiots. because, you know, that's what they are. They're just stupid. I don't know what else to say. They're dumb as hell. I do appreciate the other invader using that sick-ass gravity spell. This is when I learned you could actually dodge that bail move. It one-shots, by the way. Like, you just die. There's no surviving. You have to dodge it, and then once you dodge it, they're stuck like that forever. And if you need to, you can hit them with something like real big. Also, look at the runes that you get off of that over-leveled, disgusting, garbage, ass, milky, white, chode-sucking, laundromat panhandling loser. And here's a bonus. Check this out. Dark Souls 3 fans will remember the double hit glitch on Pierce attacks. Guess what? Guess who's back? Back again. Poke is back. Yeah, that's funny. It's funny to see that that's back. It's probably, people already probably knew it was back, but I didn't. But I loved seeing it right there. That was fantastic. It's just a weird interaction that happens if a thrusting weapon hits a wall and a target. It hits the target twice. You can't make it happen. It's not something that you can reliably reproduce. People have been trying to reliably reproduce those results since Dark Souls 3. It's just some weird random interaction. Unless something has changed, which is possible, because I don't keep up with Dark Souls 3 PvP post Elden Ring. So maybe, you know, maybe something happened and now people can do it. But yeah, anyway, it is in Elden Ring. That's hilarious. But look at this thing, man. I tried a bunch of different stuff with this. So with the deflective tier, you get a buff to your guard counters, which is sick. Guard counters, typically not very good, though, in PvP, right? They have a big bell that goes off, and it says, "Please dodge! Dodge now!" And so guard counters kind of ass. There's a few weapons where guard counters are surprisingly decent. Scythes, because of they're so slow, and I know you're thinking, like, why is that good? They're so slow that you have time to roll away from it and then get hit, because its range is so big. And there's another one that I can't remember right now, but there's another one that works the exact same way. It's so slow and its range is so big that you'll end up hitting with the guard counter more often than you thought you would, because you probably thought you would never hit with it, and you will hit with it occasionally. And that's more than you probably thought you ever would. But I digress. Sorry. I've got the curved sword talisman on here. Occasionally, I'm running it. The guard counter is fast enough, and with the deflecting tier, you get like a buff out of it. If this was a fighting game, if you got a deflection on a, whatever it's called, spontaneous block or whatever they call it, they would allow, you know, they would remove some of the frames on the guard counter, right? They should do something like that. I don't know if they will or ever have even considered it, but if it was a fighting game, that's what they do. But anywho, guard counter talisman with the curved sword talisman for the guard counters, and then the multi-hit talisman, because everything this thing does hits twice for the most part. And sometimes I'm using Rolana's talisman for the stance buff, and then Jar Shard. Sometimes I'll run the Leo ring if I think I can make a trade with the heavy attack on the wing stance. It doesn't get iframes, but it does get, I don't think, but it does get jump frames, which means you can jump over certain attacks with the wing stance heavy attack. It's really fun. You can do it in PvE pretty reliably and pretty simple to figure out how to do it. In PvP it's a little different because of latency, but it does exist, as you will see in this clip. And if you've got the Leo ring on, you can hit for some absolutely bonkers counter damage, because the damage is absurd. This thing is just an absolute, like, it doesn't even mean to roll catch, it just does. If you hit somebody with something and you throw out another attack, there you go. Look at that. Just jumped over it. You're likely to hit again. On the topic of guard counters, so on PlayStation, you block, right? And then when you get hit, you press R2, as you'll see here. And what you can do is you can press R2 again, and a lot of the times that works as a pretty good roll catch. If your opponent is hyper aggressive, like this guy was right there, I thought, well, let's try for the R1. He wasn't having it. Also, another thing, the wing stance heavy attack, absolute guard break monster. You might have noticed at the beginning of the video, we broke a great shield hitting somebody with it. I don't know if that's like fully intentional or what, but yeah, it's disgusting. It absolutely cracks shields like all the time. I actually, thinking on it now, I don't know that I have hit anybody with a shield that it didn't guard break, actually. That might require further testing, but yeah, it's brutal against blockers. The light attack is just super sick. It's a 3-hit combo, and it can almost combo into itself. Doing it doesn't break your stance. For the purposes of Rolana's Talisman, it does. Like, I'm pretty sure it does break the stance, so you lose the buff. But you can go right back into the stance with no, like, missed time at all. Now, if you do the heavy attack, you have to, like, take that time to get back into the stance like I was talking about earlier. But the stance light attack into the stance light attack, or the stance light attack into the stance heavy attack are both sick. I absolutely love this thing. It does have issues. I've been gloating about how much I love this thing for 10 minutes now. So I did mention that it doesn't do a lot of poise damage. This thing it sucks ass to trade into hyper armor with. Obviously, you can pair it up with the shield to try and help mitigate that. Yeah, that is definitely the light greatsword's kryptonite is hyper armor. It does not make trades well. Thankfully, it's got some range. You can pair it with the shield, so you have options there. But against an opponent who's like taking their time and just not going to make any dumb decisions, it can be difficult to find an opening. But like I said, shields can kind of help with that, and you can use the Ash of War or the threat of the Ash of War in some instances to mitigate it a little bit. But in Shadow of the Erdtree, there are way better additional, like, new weapons that have been, you know what I'm saying? Like, right now the perfumes are absurd because of that free aim floor thing people are doing. The backhand blades are absolutely hellish. There's a lot of stuff that's just better. But in terms of what's sick as hell, it's this guy. It's this guy right here. The light greatsword. Absolutely sick as hell. Oh, I guess I should point that out. Two-handed running attacks. Those are like your bread and butter pressure-wise. The running heavy attack hits twice, which is nice, and the running light attack is a poke, which is also nice. A lot of elevator shenanigans. I have unlocked minimal areas on this character in the DLC so that I can, do an actual playthrough with the deflective hard tier and fight the bosses and everything. I'm really looking forward to doing that. One other thing I would like to point out is how much damage that heavy attack wing stance does. If you go back and watch some of these invasions over, look at the damage numbers on some of those. It's absurd sometimes. Like 900 damage. And, in the moment, it might be hard to hit somebody with that who's just standing there expecting it. But when you're doing invasions, there are times when people aren't expecting it. And, like, 900 damage that quick on a weapon that, when two-handed, is just an absolute chase-down nightmare. Because of that running two-handed poke. I'm so glad they gave I'm going to call it a straight sword. I'm so glad they gave a straight sword a running two-handed poke attack. It is absurd. Also, the deflective tier, I've got to point out, this is so weird for me. I love Sekiro, So, like, you'd think I would be on this, but I keep wanting to, like press parry instead of block, because in Sekiro, your block is a parry, right? So it takes me a minute to get used to it, but boom, there you go. And that's the guard counter. It's quick as shit with this thing. It's pretty fast, and it hits twice, and if it hits, another heavy attack, a lot of the times, is a roll catch, which is pretty devastating, especially teamed up with, like, the winged sword insignia and the thorny cracked tear, stuff like that, that buffs multi-hits. You can start going absolutely wild. This was an interesting matchup. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do. This guy, the bleed on those claws is absurd. So I can't do what I would typically do, which is just sort of like get in there with a shield up, right? It hits so often, it hits so fast that I'm not sure. Maybe like a great shield talisman would help out right here. Once they start that attack, they're locked into it, right? Which means if you can get them to do it, and you can get them to do it at the wrong time, you know, you can punish it. But, like, it's hard to, like, it's so fast. Like that! Look how fast that is! I'd also like to point out, I did a jumping heavy attack to punish his dragon breath, and it hit both times. We Tekken juggle now, okay? We get those 2-hit in the air combos, which is sick. Absolutely love it. A lot of lake gankers and what have yous here. I don't know, this dude, see, this stuff right here, right? Like, okay, not technically ganking, but rune arc dueling and summoning blues, which you will see in just a moment. That Ash of War right there, I had not seen that one. That one was new to me, so I did not know what to expect here. The other one, I think he hard swaps to... Yeah, okay, so that's the Rakshasa thing. Yes, that one. That has, like, absurd hyper armor. So that was a light attack that I went in for the counter, hoping that, like, the big counter damage would maybe, like, switch him around, but no. He was just content to keep swinging. Then the blue shows up and he's like, I'm honorable, I'm not a ganker. Brother, you're using a rune arc and summoning blues who are... Like, they're just gonna throw something at me or whatever the moment they see me, regardless of how fair you're trying to be about it, you know? Also, you're in the lake, so this is, like, we all know what this is. Let's just get on with it. I would rather you try and gank me with your blues than stand there and watch, because I can't trust you anyway. Right? The moment I start winning, you might just decide, okay, well, now I'm going to hit him anyway. So, no invader who has a functioning brain is ever going to trust a Grace duelist, ever. Especially one that summons blues like that. But yeah, this Ash of War, it's easy to dodge, but honestly, I was not familiar with what it did. I am familiar with what these lobsters do. What they do is they kill blues. And that's what you get for being blue. And coming to the... Oh, looky there. Looky there! The damage is absurd, man. On a guard counter? We're guard counter gaming in Elden Ring. That's wild. Again, I don't know why I keep trying to think I'm going to, like, interrupt stuff, because that is not what's going to happen at all. Beautiful. 868 damage. Into that two-handed running heavy attack, which hits twice. So good luck rolling that in the heat of the moment. That running one-handed heavy attack was able to break the hyper armor, but this is right now. I recognize that this is just the great katana, but in the moment, I still thought he was using the Rakshasa, but he can't have been, because. I mean, I don't know. I was going to say he buffed it. But he's not. I know he's not. Because he buffed it with that Ash of War, which you can't put on the Rakshasa. So, but I'm saying in the moment, I didn't recognize that. I was curious if I could parry the Weed Whacker that Rakshasa thing has. But I didn't get a chance to see. and instead he went for a crouch poke and got parried. But yeah, fun weapon. Fun weapon, the light greatsword. Very much enjoy it. The opening attack being that poke, I love that. The wing stance is maybe the sickest thing From Software has ever put in a game. I love the overhead stance on the Great Katana. I love the wing stance. All this stuff is like great additions. I would love to see them make a game and replace all the lasers with just cool stances. Replace everything with a cool stance. It's just way better, in my opinion, than, you know, oh, here comes my laser. I know people like the lasers, so I don't expect them to listen to me. But I would love it if we just had a game where you had all these different stances that you could put on weapons as Ashes of War, or, you know, weapon skills, whatever you want to call them. And once you put that on there, you know, you have like your choice of which one you would like to use, and then have each one have 2 moves. Like, that would be pretty sick. Something very stupid happens in this invasion. It's so dumb. So I use the Phantom Bloody Finger, and I'm like, I teleport here, and I'm thinking, okay, there's an illusory wall here, and they have to hit this illusory wall before they can make progress. The other Phantom just died to the Vulgar Militia and the Abductor Virgin. And I'm sitting here in front of this illusory wall, waiting for them to hit the wall. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to use Rolana's stance. And I'm going to buff right here. And I'm going to let them come through. And I'm just going to go for the full-blown onslaught once they break this illusory wall. But stupid me, I didn't bother to check if the wall was there or not. And it's not. So they were just sitting there watching me stand there. And now I can watch them die. It's funny. It's a funny time. It's one of those things that if I had died because of that mistake, I would have been furious, right? But thankfully, that's not what happened. This person has more lasers than the whole goddamn world of lasers factory. This is an absurd amount of lasers to be having to deal with. And they never do the same laser twice. And then a blue shows up, because of course they do. And now I have to compete with... I don't know if this is a light roll or not, but Jesus Christ. Get it out of here. And screw you, blue tormentor. Anyway, I love this weapon. Expect to see it a lot. It's got a lot of different ways that you can use it that are all fun. I'll see you next time. Till then, thanks for watching. Later, y'all.